This is breaking news from KSL.
6:30 on this Wednesday morning. Good morning to you with Andrew Wittenberg. I'm Lori Pritchard. We are following multiple breaking stories right now.
First, heavy rain brings flooding across the region, and here in downtown Salt Lake City, another deadly incident just blocks away from the homeless shelter. Caitlin Burchell is on the scene of the downtown shooting. Dan Guthrie is watching our forecast and the significant storms which have passed through. And Shara Park is now here in Salt Lake City with more on the floodwaters that have risen as a result of all that rain. Shara, let's begin with you. What do you see?
All right, Andrew, we are on 2nd West and about 11 South, and just take a look at all of the water out here. I'm standing in about 2 feet. In other parts, it's about 2.5 feet to 3 feet. And underneath all of this water is a track slide. I've got some residents. We've been talking with these folks as the water continues to creep up next to their houses. Anya here, is the water inside your house yet?
We haven't checked yet. I think it might be in the basement.
You think it? Oh,
yeah.
What are your big concerns as you walk out your front door this morning?
Just, our safety, safety. My daughters were supposed to come here today and they didn't make it, so
yeah.
That's basically just everybody's safety.
Are you surprised to see this much? Have you ever had this kind of trouble?
No, not since I was little. I mean, the last time I think was the flood of '83.
And there we go, and here we are again. Okay, you guys, well, be careful out here as you're walking around. I'm going to you guys down here as we come on 2nd West again. Our tracks lines under this right now, tracks in this area is closed. There is a bus bridge. It starts at Central Point and then it jumps over to 900 South. So if you're headed onto tracks this morning, you're going to have to prepare for a lot of delays. I've been talking with these folks and they're just waiting for the water to subside and to go down just a little bit here. But I'll tell you what, in just the half hour that we've been here this morning, it has not gone down at all. In fact, it feels like it's actually come up closer to a lot of these houses. And as we've driven around in this area here in Salt Lake City, again, just about 200 West, 1100 South, we see this water going up next to homes all over this area. At least I would count about 10 to 15 homes that probably have taken on some water this morning in just this area alone. Vehicles, I don't know, Steve, if you can come this way just a little bit, we want to show you vehicles that are underwater. We're hearing the car alarms going off because the water has been so close to these vehicles. But you can actually see down this street right here, we've got a car just off to the side. Right now, the water is all the way up to the door above the tire line. We've got a park onto the other side of us that looks at this point like a lake. We'll send it back inside to you, Dan.
Shara, thank you. We're going to have to get you some taller boots there. You're getting right up there close to the water line. So, guys, here's what happened. Shara's right in this area right here. Again, this is 419 this morning. We've got this batch that was downtown-ish over towards the U, and then Sandy Draper as well. As we loop this over about 35 to 45 minutes, you can see how the intensity stayed over the same locations both for downtown and for Sandy Draper, and it dropped over an inch in both of these cases, and that's what we're seeing right now. We just got a lot of rain in a little amount of time, and it's trying to run off to the next lowest elevation. The problem is now it hits the drains and they start to get all backed up. So it's going to take a little while for this process to kind of continue to go. Also notice we had some lightning coming through earlier there. We were talking about power outages, especially North Salt Lake, which didn't get a lot of the heavy rainfall, but they did have lightning. So that could be responsible for some of those power outages there. And notice the showers just kind of along the Wasatch Front. Central Utah, southern Utah, finally getting a break this morning. But there's going to be some more shower activity moving back in this afternoon. We're not completely done with it. We'll let you know when we are and when temperatures will warm back up to the 90s coming up in just a few minutes. Andy?
Well, it's a rough drive this morning. Everywhere's going a little bit slower than usual. Other places having more trouble than usual. This is a crash 215's westbelt in the construction. This is bad for drivers trying to get between 47th South and 21st South. Because if you're getting on the freeway at either 47th or 35th South, you'll get stuck in this backup with only one lane to get you by. We've also got wet roads, Davis County, Salt Lake City. The south end of the Salt Lake Valley, not quite as bad now. We do have some road closures due to water, those we've been talking about all morning. 33rd South between I-15 and 5th West, and State Street between 123rd and 12100 South in Draper.
Andy, thank you. We appreciate that. Now let's get caught up on our breaking news coming out of downtown Salt Lake City, where we're following a deadly shooting. The second incident in just 24 hours, playing out blocks away from the downtown homeless shelter.
And news specialist Caitlin Burchell live at Pioneer Park. And when we were talking to you yesterday regarding another incident where someone was killed, Salt Lake City police say that they weren't looking for anyone. They had a suspect, but is this in any way related?
Good morning, Lori. That's a great question because it's almost deja vu for me. That other murder yesterday was about a block away from where I'm standing. Right now, we have very limited details from police. All they're telling us is that one man was shot and killed behind me. So this is 4th West, 4th South area. 4th West is closed. So it happened on this sidewalk behind me. A man shot and killed. This sidewalk parallel to Pioneer Park. So we're not getting any information at this point of if there's anyone in custody. We know an investigation is still underway, and police have been here since 1:30 this morning, so a very active scene still right now. Unclear of any connection from yesterday. Again, but about a block away from here near the Rio Grande camping areas for the homeless, there was a death and 3 others were injured during an attack with a cinder block yesterday. So obviously many dangerous and horrific events happening in this area recently. And I know we'll talk about in a little bit what is happening coming on today. A meeting with many leaders and officials to discuss what to do with what's happening in this area, what we're seeing happen all too often. So again, 1 man dead, a shooting behind me. No word yet if they have anyone in custody, but no information about the victim at this point. We are still waiting to hear about that. Back to you guys.
All right, Caitlin Birchall, everyone can agree that this homelessness is a problem. They just cannot agree on what to do about it. Caitlin, thanks.
And as Caitlin was talking about, it was just about 24 hours ago where we saw Caitlin live near Rio Grande after 1 man was dead and an incident that left also 3 other injured.
Well, this morning we're now learning, we're getting a first look at the suspect here.
Police have arrested now 43-year-old Pedro Kegler, accused of the murder and the assaults. Police say he attacked 3 people and then killed another person yesterday morning near the Rio Grande homeless camp. Investigators say 55-year-old Kevin McCann was sitting on the sidewalk when he was hit in the head with a paving stone by Kegler. McCann later died. And of course, it is an ongoing issue in Utah, the homeless crisis. Happening today, Governor Gary Herbert will meet with Salt Lake City officials to address the issue of homelessness. This follows recent initiatives to clean up the Rio Grande area and get resources to the homeless.
Developing in Capitol Hill, Senate Republicans now dealt a blow late last night when a bill to repeal major parts of so-called Obamacare failed. Meanwhile, the Senate's plan to create a clean repeal of the Affordable Care Act takes another roller coaster turn today. Now, senators are expected to vote on an amendment that would repeal Obamacare, but would not take effect for another 2 years. This delay is meant to give lawmakers time to decide on a replacement plan before people lose their health care. And the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee now holding a hearing today on attempts to influence the U.S. election. But one key figure who will be missing is Paul Manafort. The former Trump campaign chairman began producing documents to the committee to avoid a subpoena to appear at this hearing. Manafort also committed to negotiating a date for a future interview before the committee, which is looking into whether the Trump campaign colluded with Russia to influence the 2016 election.
With a lot of us having kids, it really makes us sick to our stomach.
In local headlines this morning, happening right now, an Eagle Mountain community watching their backs this morning after they say a man facing serious charges is camping out in their neighborhood. Now listen to this. Police say they've seen a man hiding out in a ditch behind their homes. One woman even says she's seen him pointing a camera at her house. Neighbors say the most concerning part here is that the man, Philip Case, is awaiting trial for felony charges of sexual exploitation of a minor. Sheriff's deputies in Utah County, they say they've confronted this man who told them he was just taking pictures of wildlife. And deputies say there isn't much they can do legally other than tell him he was trespassing on private property.
He's been living down here. He has blankets, pillows. And I looked out the window and I noticed someone pointing a camera up towards my house. And when he saw me, he hurried off. We're terrified having this man walk around our neighborhood.
Case pleaded not guilty to felony charges against him. His trial is set for next month.
Turn around now. Oh, help!
Now listen to me.
The Duchesne County Sheriff's Office has released this body cam video of a deputy restraining a 14-year-old boy who they later found out has autism. Now, the Sheriff's Office released this video after the mother of the teenager filed a lawsuit against the department and the sergeant in the video. In a Facebook post, the sergeant's office says Sergeant Carl Riley responded to a suspicious call where he found the teen looking into the windows of a building. It then says that the teen failed to keep his hands in the air and pulled away when Sergeant Riley placed him in handcuffs. Body cam footage then shows the sergeant taking the teen home, where his mother thanks the officers and informs them that her son has autism. Office says that they posted the video in the interest of transparency. They also say a full review found the sergeant was reasonable in his use of force. They also say deputies will be receiving training to help identify and interact with people who have disabilities.
On the road to zero fatalities this morning, new numbers from UDOT show the number of deaths on the roads during Pioneer Day weekend dropped significantly from last year. 3 people died on Utah roads over the weekend in 2 separate crashes. That is down from last year when there were 9 traffic deaths during the same weekend. UDOT also says the number of deadly crashes are down this year, with 142 deaths so far in 2017. Last year at this point, the number stood at 154. This morning, a Taylorsville man is facing charges for sparking that massive fire that at one point was the largest in the country down in southern Utah at Bryan Head. Iron County officials say 60-year-old Robert Lyman is accused of accidentally starting the blaze when he set a pile of weeds on fire with that now infamous weed torch. The wildfire cost $34 million to fight, making it one of the state's most expensive fires ever. Investigators have now said in the past that the person who started it could be responsible for those costs. If he's convicted, Lyman could face up to 18 months in jail and a $3,500 fine.
Now we're going to send it out to Shara Park, who is live in Salt Lake City in standing water. You can see the floodwaters all around. Shara.
Yeah, take a look. If you look just down here on 2nd West and about 11th South, you can just see how much water is in this area. And it's not just this street. We've got multiple streets around us that are flooded right now, homes that are flooded. I've got Battalion Chief Brady George from the Salt Lake City Fire Department, who just happened to come through the area, and we flagged him down and said, stop. Give us a layout of what the area looks like so folks, as they're getting up this morning, know what they're running into.
So the area immediately kind of north of the ballpark is very heavily flooded right now. The streets, Paxton, Lucy, all the way over to Meade, have anywhere from 12 inches to 2.5 feet of standing water right now. We ask residents as they come out to investigate their homes to be careful of those large areas of standing water. There's several open manhole and sewer covers through there. We'd hate to have anyone step into one of those and have an accident that injured them severely.
About how many homes are you talking at this point that have been flooded or have taken on some sort of water?
Counts right now as we pass down through the city are in the area of 100 homes that have been impacted right now, possibly much higher than that.
100 homes. But what about any injuries? Anyone hurt out there?
No reports of any injuries thus far. No reports of any vehicle damage from traveling through the area either thus far.
Okay, and we're talking, when he says a ballpark, we're talking about the B Stadium here. If you're familiar with that, it gives you a point of reference of where we're at. What do? It's still raining. It feels like the water level is still coming up.
Right now the water in this area is starting to subside. Salt Lake City Public Works has been out there doing a phenomenal job of getting the manholes closed back up, redirecting some of the water out of this area to start getting it to subside so where they can actually see exactly how much damage has been done.
Okay, Battalion Chief, we appreciate you joining us. I know I flagged you down and said, hold up, I want to show you the front of his vehicle, though. Come with me, Steve. Look at this. We asked him, is this from where you've been driving through the water? Look how much debris. The water level was clear up to here on his truck as he was driving through. He told us over on Paxton Street, there was a trailer, like an RV trailer, that got picked up by the water and actually moved to another location. That's how much water has come down in this area. One more warning for you this morning. As you're headed out, if you live in the area, you see areas that have been flooded, don't get in the water. We've got our boots on, but it is dirty. It is so very dirty, and we don't want kids playing out in it. And like you mentioned, it's dark, it's dirty. You can see it below here. You just don't know what is under that water. We've been very cautious walking through it, but just be careful. Don't be playing in it. It's really gross. We'll send it over to you, Dan.
All right, Shara. So storms right now are really starting to clear. You can see the Salt Lake Valley really starting to clear out. So rain pretty much done there. Still going north of Salt Lake as you head up towards Ogden. But big picture-wise, again, northern Utah seeing a little bit of shower activity. Some lightning strikes also up towards Ogden where we're hearing some reports of power outages. But quiet for central and southern Utah. So we're going to go ahead and send things to break here for a moment. When we come back, we're going to talk about the power outages. We're going to talk about the traffic issues. And again, a full look at your forecast. All coming up.